going on, everybody? It's Dante from the Why Day podcast. We are here with Kiki, Swoosh, and Shirley, Red Pill, and my man Max Savage here.
What's happening?
Welcome back, huh?
I know, right? Been a minute. It's been quite some time.
Yeah, it's been a while. So we're on, and the buzzwords. Since you guys just now tuning in, if you guys don't know, and I'm on live stream right now. We have buzzwords. We created something buzzwords where if you say one word, it could be any word that we pick of our choosing, and if someone says that, they have to get asked 3 questions, and it could be unrelatable, personal, it could be dirty, it could be any kind of thing. It could be someone asks if they want to eat ass, shit like that. You know what I mean? Things like that can happen.
Don't ask me. It's a hard yes.
Good. So for the buzzword for men would be beta, females, intimacy.
Nice.
So yeah, we are stacked today. We got a whole lineup today. So I'm excited to have Max Savage back. You know, he's putting his groceries away right now. He's preparing for the zombie apocalypse.
Dude, you don't know. You have no idea.
But the topic today, if you guys want, I mean, we could talk about the last recap of the last episode. It didn't have you guys in there. It didn't have Aunt Shirley. It didn't have Red Pill. But, you know, but if you guys have anything you want to say on the last topic, if you guys remembered.
What was it? I don't know what the last topic was.
Oh, yeah. Well,
like a quick summary of what the question was?
Well, okay. So it was about shallowness and entitlement.
Shallowness.
Yeah, and how that affects in the dating scene. So if you guys want to say something, you can, because you guys missed out. But, you know.
Shallowness and entitlement in a relationship?
Yeah. So let's say it's someone, we had to kind of define it as preference between shallow, because preferences, we have all our preferences. But shallow specifically go for girls for like pink toenails. Like pink like painted toenails, and you specifically go for that. Or you specifically go for like 10s and you don't go anything below because, you know, you only like hot girls that don't have no brains kind of thing. Shit like that.
Nice.
And then entitlement kind of, it's not similar to, I don't know if it's high standards. It's not the same thing as high standards. We have to kind of differentiate that. Is entitlement means that someone who is narcissist is kind of be a narcissistic person who likes to have things going their way, in control type things, those type of individuals. We only talked about 2 types of people. So if you guys have anything you want to say about it, you can. If not, we'll move on to the next topic.
I just want to say, like, at the end of the day, people have their own needs, and what is shallow to another person might actually be something that I need. So, like, one good example is, like, I will not tolerate or deal with a guy at a certain like height, and some people think that like that's like super shallow, but I've noticed that like men at a certain height act a certain way in the world, and I just don't want to deal with those attitudes. So like, again, it just goes back to like, what do you need individually as a person?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just my perspective on it.
Okay, so that's not shallow. I mean, it's a preference.
I don't know. Someone might think that's really shallow.
Wow. What the hell's the guy doing, man?
Sorry, my door is...
To add on to what Aunt Shirley just said, I kind of agree with that, right? One, I'm under the belief of if someone doesn't like you, someone doesn't like you, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like if someone doesn't find you attractive, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm kind of like the same way, right? In a way where like if you guys see me on any like on any dating app, at the very bottom of my profile, my bio, it always says bonus points if you're plus 5'9". I have found that women over 5'9" typically act a certain way in the world, and I really like.
Right.
Right. Like they're just.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Okay.
So I can totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Same thing with women. I
You guys actually agreed. That's.
Well, hold on. Let me rephrase the thing. I don't always agree with Aunt Shirley, but Aunt Shirley drops dimes all the time.
Okay, all right. She gets points today.
So it's like the same thing with like guy, girl, like you've probably seen the screenshots of conversations on like Tinder. Girls like, oh, how tall are you? And the guy goes, well, how much do you weigh? Right? Because girls are a certain way, act a certain way in the world. Facts. Right? So it's one of those things where it's like, you shouldn't put someone down because they don't fit your preference, but you should totally go for your preference.
Just to piggyback off of that, like there are people who, or at least I don't know if you've heard this conversation before, but like there's a certain level of entitlement like certain people have because people just aren't attracted to them, so to speak. So like if you're like a really big plus size woman and a guy's like, I'm not into like big girls, it's read as a form of entitlement to expect to be like considered in that dating pool.
Okay, go ahead.
Like they would say that plus women are acting entitled in that example. My whole thing when it comes to that though is like, if you're like discriminating against people based off of like race or like class or even like body type, I think that's where we're getting into like gray waters, like the difference between preferences and like
shallowness.
Yeah.
I agree with that because like, I mean, I don't have a problem with preference. So like I have a specific type that I like and I typically go for that type, but
Green
that
hair.
doesn't mean that I haven't been with anybody of the other types. Typically I've dated, it's not like I've dated people I'm not attracted to, but like not what everyone expects and not something I usually, because it's like, hey, maybe you like this, maybe you don't, but I've been able to, after all of these relationships, figure out what I actually like and want, and now I have a preference pool. I don't consider myself shallow for that because I still am like, no, I'm gonna try out anything that is, but like now I know what I want, I guess. So I guess like I can see it on both sides, but like I don't consider myself shallow for it, and I'm like, oh.
Hey, man, you just like butt. It's okay.
Damn right. Booty.
It sounds great. You put yourself out there, you experience this, you experience this, and now you know what you like.
Yeah.
Being,
so
I will never ever like.
It is, Max. Yeah. So someone said act a certain way. Okay, act a certain way in the world. How? Like how? Give an example how people who are tall or 5'9" or above, how they act a certain way. Like, so I guess it was kind of like a vague answer.
Oh, well, okay. So I'm going to intervene for this because I know a lot of short guys. I'm friends with a lot of short guys. And
Sorry,
what it
Swoosh.
really has to do is that people,
Okay.
because I've had it to talk to me because I'm 6 foot. So like when people talk to me and they're short, they feel intimidated immediately because of the fact that I'm tall. And I'm like, I am not intimidating in any way. Like I'm scrawny Jew. Like what am I going to do to you? And, and it could be biased because of the fact that I am tall. So like, I don't see myself as doing anything wrong, but I do notice like people who are short, they have that, they call it a Napoleonic complex, where they try to like outdo and outmaneuver and try to like, I'm big man, I'm tough, puff out their chest and shit. While people who are taller don't have to. And it's really unfortunate because I know a lot of like shorter guys who feel like they don't have a chance. And I've actually had a friend who sat there and like when a chick came in, he was like, oh man, she'd rather go with you just because of his height. And I'm like, well, one, she's not my type, and two, you don't know that. Like, what if I'm an asshole and you're a great person? Like, is she just gonna be like, yeah, you're a cool person, but you're a little too short? Then don't be with her. Fuck it. Like, that's how I see it. If someone doesn't want to be with you for a small thing, no, don't be with them. Like, they're not worth it. There's people out there who don't give a shit about height. I know a chick who lives out here. She's almost as tall as me, and she only dates people shorter than her because she's almost as tall as me. She's like, who else are going to date? Fucking basketball players? I'm like, I get it. Like, makes sense. Once you reach a certain height, you start to look lanky and like, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fucking Max.
Hey, I just tell how it is.
Let me interject. I'm the only short guy here, so let me interject. Dante is attest to this. I turn down girls all the time. I'm short. I'm 5'4", and I turn down girls all the time. I do not care. Tall guys doesn't really faze me at all. You know.
I mean, that's good, but is that because you have confidence in yourself, though?
Maybe. Shit, I don't know.
Because
Yes.
I
Just
believe
say
it
yes.
comes.
You're
down
just an
to, like,
asshole,
people
man.
who
Let's
are
just
told-
Just say yeah. Just say you don't have confidence.
let's just put that off the record. You're just an asshole.
I'm an asshole. That's what it is.
You're just a fucking
Hey.
dick.
Hey man, if it works, it works. Like it's bet. Trust me. It's
Yeah, I
better
can
than
tuck
being
it
that
back for
person
you
who's like,
anytime,
"Oh,
all right? I can tuck it back.
I don't know.
And just reverse on like the women's side, like if you're,
Oh shit.
you're like too tall, you kind of get masculinized like a lot. Like guys don't treat you like a lady, so to speak, because you're like over 5'8" or something. And I've
No,
noticed,
you're-
I've gone out. I've gone out.
I
with,
do. I
I've
do.
gone out with bigger girls, taller
That's
than
my
me.
type.
well, all this to say is like tall women carry themselves with a level of confidence and security that they have to, because society is going to be like, oh, you're not ladylike because you're tall, for example, and that can be attractive.
In my opinion, who gives a fuck? You know, if you have confidence, if you have the confidence,
Like what you have, but
more
like,
power to you. It's more fun for me. I have more fun with people that have confidence.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. That's always key, right? Like,
Boom.
and we all agree, like we like people who accept themselves, who aren't
Yeah.
like people instead.
Yeah, I don't know. My dad told me, man, he kind of said some real shit about short women. He said,
Oh,
"Stay away from
yeah.
short women. They're closer to hell." So,
Oh.
Well, Dante, you're really tall, so that's
I
pretty.
was like,
a lot
"Oh
of
shit!"
time.
Well, my dad's like 5'4". He's about no taller than Swoosh. He's a short dude, and my mom's hella tall. So it's kind of crazy. I'm like, oh, okay. And ever since then, that stuck with me. I'm like, oh, I guess they're all closer to hell. I guess it makes sense.
Let's make a segue between like vulnerability and like I would say dating somebody outside of your preference.
No, just a little.
Right?
I
Like,
mean-
do you feel like, are you kind of putting like, let's say you're dating somebody, right? And like, let's say a girl's trying to date me. If you look at my recent history, right, I typically like tall women who are either like Slavic or like Middle Eastern. That's typically like, well, Slavic, Scandinavian, Middle Eastern. That's just like my type. That's kind of just what I go for. Right?
Damn, all right.
Tall, slim, kind of mean-looking women. Because they kind
They
of
are kind of mean, bro.
I'm sorry, like
some of the girls you've been dating, man, they look hella mean.
Like,
Hey
I like
man,
tall
if he
girls
wants to
who
take all the
RBF.
mean
That's
women, he
just-
can take them. I'm good.
Hey, I was like, is she happy? Is she smiling? Like, is she good? He's like, oh yeah, she's normally like that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
Those
That's
are
just kind
curveballs.
of
Those are
how
She's
I
curveballs.
like-
operate. But it's like if I were to date somebody, let's say I date
She
somebody.
got like
outside
Tom
of
Cruise
that,
look.
and they knew personally, right? Do you think if you guys were dating a guy who you weren't their type, you would feel more insecure? Would that really affect how you looked at that guy? You're like, okay, I'm not really his type, right? Like, the guy has
Yeah,
track
honestly,
record.
I would feel insecure because if we're out and we run into a woman that kind of fits that description, then I would think like, oh, like this is the kind of girl that he usually goes for, and like
Yeah.
it would be more interested in her than like me because of the way I look.
But isn't he going out with you for a reason?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, if he's going out with you for a reason, you have there should be no insecurity at all. If he's with you, he likes you for you, not
It's
that.
really
girl.
easy to say that, though. I just straight up, it's really easy to say that.
It's really easy to say.
Really
that.
easy to just logic that away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Logically,
Who's with you? So, with you. Just go in.
logically, I like girls with blue eyes, blonde hair. I go out with Asian girls, Mexican girls, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
You said you didn't like. Well, yeah, we talked about this other episode. White women are like kind of the bottom for us.
Yeah, but that's why.
Yeah, but hold on, though. Hold on.
There's
Oh, yeah, we talked about that last.
There's a lot of females that have blonde hair, green eyes. All right, don't trip.
Yeah, I like girls with green hair.
Like, what about her?
Girls with green hair.
Like, that's just.
That's savage right there. He like girls with green hair. I don't know what's up with him with
I don't
green
know
hair.
about that,
Color
dude.
hair in general.
I'm not into that. I'm not into that kinky shit. All right, guys.
Okay. So, vulnerability.
Topic is
Right.
vulnerability, communication. Hold on, I got it right here. Communication, best practices in relationships when it comes to vulnerability.
Right.
So that's the topic. How does it impact relationships? Vulnerability. It's a good thing,
So I think,
bad thing.
so I think we're all pretty warm. So I'm just gonna jump right into what we talked about in the group chat that I really, really wish Alpha Monk was here for.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where's that motherfucker?
And being vulnerable in
At home,
relationships.
scared.
Right. That's what I feel like is like the neediest topic. Go into that, and then when segues happen, they'll happen. Right. My personal belief on men being vulnerable in relationships, right, I don't think there's much in it for a man to be vulnerable in a relationship. I firmly believe that. I don't think there's much for him to gain by being vulnerable in a relationship.
Being vulnerable in a relationship?
I think women don't appreciate vulnerability in men as much as they appreciate vulnerability in their friends.
Strongly disagree. That's
Uh-oh.
Agree with that.
Oh, shit.
It's
I mean,
starting.
when it comes down to it, every person I've known, female and male wise, pretty much, sits there and like they're like, yeah, like I like a sensitive guy, and then when homeboy's too sensitive, it's like, yeah, you're too sensitive, and it's like, well, where's the cutoff? Like, where is sensitivity? Because I'm not a sensitive person. I don't cry. Like my emotion is either I'm happy or angry, nothing in between. So like I really don't have any like spread, but like I've heard it from people who are like, yeah, like he's too clingy, like that's an emotional thing. Like he's too like in my shit, that's an emotional thing. Fucking he cries too much. And I'm like, well, what do you want then? You say you want somebody who's more sensitive, but homeboy cries once during a sad movie, and you're like, oh, this.
Oh, he weak.
Like,
He's
weak. I'm like, but I mean, it's part of that stereotype that men have to be like strong, and women are the ones who are supposed to be vulnerable. And it's like, no, I don't like fucking vulnerable women. You know, I want somebody who can take care of themselves. And people who sit there and cry about everything don't take care of themselves. You know, so like,
Saving Private Ryan all the time.
yeah, man, shit. Yo, those fucking dog commercials pop up, and I tear up. I don't cry, but I'm like, man, I feel sad. Like,
wait,
what sadness is about?
Hold on.
Right now.
Like, that's
I'm
my
up
vulnerability.
right now.
Not weak as dogs.
Yeah, I have someone that says sensitivity is different from vulnerability, and I
yes,
yeah,
I agree
absolutely.
with that. I mean, I feel like people are mistaken, like people who are overly emotional as being vulnerable, but being vulnerable, it's, you know, you expressing like your views or your dreams, you know, just really opening up yourself and not just giving like half-assed answers. You know, it's like really sharing like what you feel and what you think. Like that's being vulnerable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we can't equate being vulnerable with being.
So we're supposed to share on our feelings. We're not supposed to act on our feelings.
What?
It's
So
about.
I'm trying to make sure. Trying to decipher.
I don't know. You lost me there. I got lost.
I'm just what Kylie had said. She described vulnerability as like being able to like really share your feelings and talk about emotions or even bring up past traumas, but crying and sensitive is kind of acting on that vulnerability, right? Like when you're being vulnerable.
Yeah, it's like a form. That's a form of it, but you know, it could stretch beyond that.
So we're only allowed to be so vulnerable.
You know?
So there is a line then. There is a line to only be so vulnerable.
Oh shit! Sorry.
I guess so.
You're good. You're good.
Okay. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So yeah, go ahead. What are you gonna say, Aunt Shirley?
Yeah.
No. I was just gonna say, like, piggyback off what Kylie's saying. Like, vulnerability doesn't have to be gendered. It's just allowing someone to have access to like what's going on with you. So like, if you get in a fight with your partner and he's just like, oh, nothing's wrong, and you can clearly physically like see that something's wrong. That's where like vulnerability plays into relationships, and where you communicate effectively and you like you allow that person in, and that builds like stronger relationships, is allowing yourself to have allowing certain people to have access to you.
Would you say that sensitivity is what you give off while vulnerability is what you allow in?
I think sensitivity is just like being overreactive to something. Okay. Rather than vulnerability, which is a skill and a practice and an art. Where, like I said, like you have to actively choose to allow someone to get close to you and then communicate. Whereas being sensitive is just like literally everything. Like you're, like I have to hold you with baby gloves. Like that's annoying. That's a major difference.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're talking about.
No, you don't. Guys don't get it because we only understand one thing.
I will.
God damn it!
I'm writing this. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to solve this equation on the wall. Like, how does this work? Because
I was like, oh,
from one side to the other. You know.
Yeah,
I have a question.
You lost me.
I have a question for everyone else here, right?
Okay.
Have you ever dated somebody who always told you when something was wrong? Like they always told you, "Oh, this is wrong."
No.
Hell no.
Fuck no.
Okay, and if you were to count, just think about it. The amount of times something happens in a day that bothers you, right? The amount of times in a week something bothers you. Realize that if every single time something bothers you, you spoke
Where's
on
with
it.
that person though?
See,
I think
but women like to women like to pass. Yeah, but women like to passively say stuff like "I'm fine," and it's just like obviously you're not fine. Like you just kind of, I mean, and those guys are gonna we're gonna either leave it alone or we open it up, but we just kind of sit there like, okay, well,
I'm not gonna jump on that, but no, a bunch of dudes are the same exact fucking way. Like a
dudes
lot of guys are like, I'm fine because we're the raised to not have fucking feelings kind of shit. So the whole we gotta keep everything inside. I even have a problem with that sometimes. Where like I don't.
Okay.
Feel like it's right to express myself because it's like if I do, I'm gonna be a bitch,
So sensitivity and vulnerability are two different things. Are we classifying those as two different things? Or
yeah.
So I absolutely agree with being sensitive as being overly reactive. Right. Okay. I absolutely believe. I 100% agree with that. I think that was an amazing definition. I'm still having a hard time because like for me, vulnerability, I take it like the actual denotative definition, right? Like being vulnerable is like being open to attack. That's what vulnerability is. That's in my mind. That's all that means. Not that someone's going to attack you, but you're kind of showing your belly. That's all vulnerability is. You're showing your belly.
Dogs do it all the time.
Right. So that's just, and I'm sorry, but it's one of those things where it's like, I forgot who said it earlier. Women say they want a sensitive guy, or women say they want vulnerability, and then when they get it, they can't handle it. And I can only speak from anecdotal evidence. But from my personal life, from all the friends that I know, from watching my father, from listening to my own sister, right, we're almost like twins, having her talk about certain men, and it's just like, women don't appreciate vulnerability in men. They may like openness, and they may like the fact that a man will give them a key piece to help them understand his behaviors and patterns, but they don't appreciate vulnerability.
No, I disagree.
I disagree with that. Maybe women who aren't mature don't appreciate vulnerability. I
think I kind of agree on the women's side of this, where it's like, yeah, like that's not exactly how it is. The vulnerability side is how I would perceive it to be is women do want somebody who is vulnerable, who's able to open up, who is able to be like, this is how I strongly feel about this or not. It's I think what Red Pill is putting down is when that vulnerability becomes sensitivity. Is when it changes. And that's where it's like, you don't want somebody who's overly sensitive, but you do want somebody who can be vulnerable. And that's like a main thing. Somebody who can express themselves, somebody who can state a yes or a no. That's vulnerability is allowing that in to be like, yo, like I'm letting you into who I am as a person. Because when it comes to a relationship, you want to be vulnerable with the person you're with. Like, cause to me, that's trust. And if you're vulnerable with them, that's trust. And that's something that you need in a relationship. If you're not able to, I mean, think about it. Like, I don't cry, but like, if my fucking family died or my dog died, who am I going to cry in front of? If I can't cry in front of my girlfriend, then there's a problem with that. If I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to do this because I don't want her to think I'm a bitch, then that is me not allowing her to come in. That's me not allowing me to be vulnerable towards it. So I get that. Like, now I'm understanding a little bit more with that. But there's a difference between the one-off case of like, my dad dying, which is only going to happen fucking once. I only got one of them, versus like every time a goddamn commercial of milk comes on, it's too much. Like, I get that. Yeah.
Like,
it kind of sounds like girls want a bipolar guy. Is that right? If I were bipolar, you'd like me more? Does that make sense? No?
Vulnerability is just being able to be honest in your communication. So like, let's say you're dating someone and like you're like 4 weeks in, whatever. Vulnerable communication would be telling your partner where you stand with her. If you want this to go, like, if you want a relationship, whatever, versus like being super stoic and not being clear. And if she asks you like where this is going, you don't allow her to have access to what you're thinking or how you feel about the situation. So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, vulnerability is a skill. Vulnerability is a choice of allowing someone in. It's being honest with who you are.
I mean, that works too, because technically I've even been in a situation where I've been a little too vulnerable. I've trusted somebody more than I should have. And this isn't even in a relationship wise. This is just being vulnerable with like certain people. I'm like, no, it's cool. Like, I've known this person. Like, I've known this guy since a minute, whatever. And that vulnerability of me giving it to them allowed them to fuck me over in the end, pretty much. So like, yeah, okay, I get you.
So if I'm vulnerable and I cry in front of my girlfriend, and then it sounds like I should call her a bitch after, right?
No. Well, if anything, it's gonna make her feel like she's someone that you value because we.
Yeah.
I call her a bitch.
No. When you cry or when you like let down your walls with her, because we generally understand men don't do that. So having the privilege to have like your partner open up in that way in front of you, I think is even more attractive. That makes me feel like or it makes your partner feel like she's actually like trustworthy. It's the same way with dogs. Like if a dog shows you their belly and you don't fucking kill them, like that means that there's a bond there, right? There's a level of trust. So yeah, that
Makes
I don't
a
know
lot
if
of
I
sense.
answered your question, Red Pill, but I do think women absolutely want vulnerability. They do want access to men in that special way.
Well, wait, hold on.
Whoa.
Dating wise isn't just one to the other. What about the opposite? Do men want women more sensitive or more vulnerable?
Fuck that.
So I can answer this.
I don't think men want overly sensitive women. I think they want women who are confident. I think they want women who are emotionally mature, and they want someone who knows how to like handle their own emotions and not like look to him like a father to figure it out for them. Like I think if I were to do like the most men that I date probably would say they don't want an overly emotional woman.
They want another dude. Basically, they want to date another dude. Is that
or emotionally vulnerable woman. Sorry, what?
So they want to date another dude. Is that what you're saying?
They want to or won't?
They want to date another dude.
Oh.
No. What she's saying is that when it comes to sensitivity, no matter what, nobody wants to be with somebody who's too sensitive. Period. Unless you're into that. And I know people who want to be like top dog. Like I know guys who are all like, I gotta be the main breadwinner. I gotta bring it in. She can't leave the house. She's gotta like stay with the kids. They want that. They want an overly sensitive and an overly vulnerable woman because it's a power trip to them.
Ooh.
Me, on the other hand, no, I don't fucking want that. If I have to turn around because you're crying every 2 seconds, I'm gonna be like, yo, this is not working out for me. My bed sheets are covered in tears for no reason. Like, too much for me. Too much. No. I don't think that has to do with being a guy or not. Or like, oh, chicks who aren't as sensitive are more mannish. No.
Yeah.
Sensitivity isn't a problem. It's not an issue. It's not something that's bad. Oversensitivity is. And that's what leads into, again, like being bipolar is being overly sensitive because you get triggers when you're bipolar on mood swings on this to that. Sometimes it is a trigger. Sometimes it's not. It's just mental imbalance or whatever. I do admit that like when it comes down, I would like a woman to be more vulnerable, kind of trust me first before I can trust them. I feel is like maybe that's just like how I see things, but I don't like trusting somebody who doesn't trust me. Okay. Like at all. So I would want to know for a fact that they're vulnerable with me. And it doesn't, when it comes to women, no offense, but women are, it's more, how would you say? They can cry, like, and it's fine. It's more acceptable for that because that's just what women do, which is stupid, but that's what everyone states. And it's like, yeah, so vulnerability for women isn't just crying. There's more to it. There's more of the trust. And I want to see that before I'm like, no, I trust you. I can cry in front of you. I'm not just going to cry in front of some chick at the bus stop. Like, fuck that chick,
Yeah,
you gain that trust? Yeah.
Well,
how would you gain that trust?
In the female?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, you gotta show them that you're trustworthy. So it's not just like, oh, like I'm just gonna put it in you and dip. Like, are you the person to respond when they need you to respond? Are you the person who's reliable? Are you the person who's, whatever this, whatever that? The things that I put together as like good male etiquette in a relationship. Those are the ways to get into it. Oh shoot.
Yeah, we cries all the time.
let me interject a little bit. So I think what Max is saying is true because I've dated girls that have walls, and it's hard for them to bring them down, right? So I don't sleep well now. not before. I had this rule where I won't sleep with someone, after I start seeing that personality come out, but they can trust me,
Mhm.
Yeah, because I'm not like every other guy. I don't want to just go and fuck you, basically, because
Hey, that's good.
yeah. So I want to get to know you before I do any of that shit,
I mean, I'm not exactly the greatest example of say like, call me a hypocrite. I don't give a shit. But I do feel like you should trust a person before you let them enter their penis inside of you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's generally how I feel, because it's literally entering one body part into another. You should have some, like, a little bit of trust in that person. Is that what happens? Fuck no. No,
never.
I've been that guy. I don't trust you.
That's why I do
I'm going in. Like,
So someone,
but I would see that's what I would want.
Yeah. So someone commented and said, more vulnerable men shows maturity and still masculinity. Kim and Kim's on here, and I got Hui. Our break AJ's on here, so he's on here. So say what's up. I got like 4 minutes left.
Oh no!
I mean, we can open it up and back up again. I might just do that if I'm not gonna upgrade yet. Maybe, but but we'll jump into our. We'll get it really quick here. About 4 minutes left, so we'll do something where emotionally, as far as I know, we talked about a few emotions with, of course, the men and everything like that. We talked about. I want to talk about emotional intelligence in relationships, emotional currency, things like that. And I don't want to upgrade it. Someone just said upgrade my Zoom. No, not yet. Maybe.
We're broke. Hey, maybe if you pitch in, we'll do it. Yeah.
Well, no one knows.
What's up?
I didn't get no Venmo money yet.
We'll have Dante and Red Pill dance for you, right?
Nobody pitched in. This is why I created the website, man. None of y'all.
That's why it's called Why Date.
Y'all donated. This is what happens.
We need donations, all right?
I take anything,
Dante will do a head spin.
Yeah. 10 heads.
Oh, I'm down.
We're running out of time.
Okay. So we gotta do this now, guys. We gotta upgrade.
Well, hey, how about we take like a 5-minute break and then come back in?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
I actually had to go.
Like an intermission, you know what I'm saying?
I have to go because I have some stuff to do.
Oh, now you got stuff to do, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, now you got stuff to do. Okay, all right. Well, who else got stuff to do? Anyone else got something else to do? Anyone else got? Who else?
I mean, I can still put away my groceries, but besides that,
Oh, you know what? I can come back.
It's fine.
It's probably gonna take me like 20 minutes.
We're gonna go on a little.
You gotta do Floosh.
I'm gonna leave this
on. Who are you talking
guys.
to? Who's gonna call you? Who just texted you?
I'm gonna leave this on for you guys.
No one calls me.
You guys have any questions?
Your notifications
We'll ask
right now.
them next
DM.
No one.
Because I got like 2 minutes left for the Zoom. So put some comments, questions here, guys. For if you guys have a Q&A, the topic is vulnerability and dating. So, yeah. All right, that's all I had to say. But yeah, we'll just do that, and we'll just hop on, and I'll invite you guys back out again.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All
sounds
right.
good.
All right, let me see.
I'll come back later, right?
All right.
Yes, you better. Bye.
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 Sitting on the couch, playing video games, wonder why your life is passing by so fast. Yeah, man, I'm talking to you. Yeah, man, you ugly as hell, can't keep a job, unemployed, can't pay child support, and you're over there eating hot Cheetos, and you wonder why your girl left you. Man, hey, look at me. Yeah, now I'm all up in your house. You ain't even got no even damn security up in here, man. Hey, man, get off your damn ass and go sign up for the damn classes. Don't be like that guy, man, sitting on the couch. He ain't doing nothing. Go ahead and get you good to school. Go 1-800, get to school. Yeah, man, what's the problem? It's easy.
Women are nurturers, right? And how we display those traits is completely different now than it was, 100 years ago. But that's 8 times out of 10, that's the relationship. 8 times out of 10, the man's the man, the woman's the woman. 8 times out of 10, he's probably the breadwinner and provider, security, and she's nurturer, homesteader, stuff like that. They don't have to be those roles. That's typically how it breaks down, right? And so it's like, are you going to look at me and think, oh, he's going to protect me if I'm always emotionally open with you? Not sensitive, but if I'm always emotionally open? You need that bit of stoicness. You need that bit of tough skin and also the ability to solve your own problems, right? Like if my girlfriend does something that pisses me off, right? Or some girl I'm dating does something that I don't like, I can tell her without being sensitive. I can tell her without being blunt. I can say, yo, I ain't really with that, to be honest. Like I draw the line there. That's all I have to say. I don't have to explain myself. That's where I draw the line. She can explain herself now at this point, but I'm not going to sit here and be open and soft about it. Right? And women appreciate that. And they're going to sit here and say, oh, I'm in to be sensitive. I want him to be open. That is just another way women want to filter out alphas from not alphas, right? That's just another way to test the frame, another way to filter. I can tell you right now, if you sit there and you talked about how your neighbors fucking touched you, and then you talk about how your parents beat you, and you sit there and you talk about how XYZ happened to you growing up, right? Like your woman's not gonna want to fuck you more from hearing that. She might respect you a little bit more, yeah, maybe, but she's not gonna want to fuck you anymore. She's not gonna want to, like, you just lost that. You just lost that hardened soldier vibe. You just lost that real masculine edge. Because now she knows, oh, you're just like me. Bad things happen to you. It's kind of weird, but there needs to be this era of, I've been through some shit and we don't gotta talk about it. There needs to be this era of strong masculinity. That's my firm belief. Now, that does lead the conversation to who do you open up to? Because I don't believe men should take these things to their grave. I don't believe that. I have my 2 best friends, right? 2 best close guy friends. I can sit there and tell them about all those incredibly horrible things that have happened, or I can be, which is crazy, really open and intimate about my feelings with them on special, certain drunk enough occasions, right? Like, because I don't believe any man should really keep all those things in, but it's like those really, really deep, dark thoughts and feelings and worries and traumas, don't tell your lady, tell your boys. Right? Because you're not worried about whether or not your boy is going to see you as a man or not when you're in that moment. You're that close. You've been friends for 10, 15, 20 years. But your lady, that should always be a worry. That should always be a worry.
Why?
No, I disagree with that.
What is there to lose?
I want to know everything about you. I want to know your struggles, your journey to, the person who you became today. I want to know like everything about you. And I don't think it's fair that you only tell that to, your guy friends and you can't tell that to your lady. So that's just what I have to say about it.
Because then, like, does she really know you? Or does
then how will we really know you?
Well,
know this, like, projected masculine image you want me to know. Like, that's wild. I don't think that's an authentic relationship, and it's a waste of time.
That's all surface stuff,
Yeah. Like, the stuff that, like...
So you guys want to know vulnerability about a guy just by... You get that from... vulnerability. You get to know who that person is based on their vulnerability. Is that what you guys are saying?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. Yes, okay. Well, what signs of vulnerability that a guy should do for a woman? Like, what's an example?
Okay, so one example is like if he's having issues with like his family, or if he doesn't have like a good relationship with his dad, or like whatever, and that's like bothering him. I would like to know like what that relationship is like why are you and your dad like this? Because then it explains like why you are the way you are, why you've chosen certain things to like be a man or whatever. But this is part of your like historical storyline. And if you don't share that with me, then I'm like, he's just in a bad mood for no reason.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense, but that's like the first thing that comes to mind.
May I draw a distinction here? I don't want to interrupt anybody. I do want to touch on the last thing Shirley just said. I do think that is a problem where a man will have a problem. Like something will go beyond that stoical wall and he'll be bothered. And she's going to ask him, babe, what's wrong? Nothing. right? Either that girl, I do not believe men should do that. I don't believe you should stonewall your girl. I think that's a horrible thing to do. I think it's a bad stereotype and archetype that men will take on, right?
Okay.
I totally agree with that.
Vulnerability was
Okay, how about this? How about not even something negative? Like something like sexual, right? Let's say this dude has like certain sexual needs that he just has certain sexual needs. If he's not vulnerable and honest about that in our relationship, that will become an issue where your partner cannot authentically and honestly meet that desire that you want. And who knows, like you might even like cheat on her to get that like that itch made. Like, you know what I mean? Vulnerability is just about like trusting and allowing someone access to who you really are. And it doesn't have to be like always negative stuff. It's just like, what do you like? Who am I with?
I mean, for myself, I could see myself being very vulnerable. Like Kim said something about what vulnerability most when it comes to finances. That could be a very vulnerable subject or sensitive subject for a lot of guys out there.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for myself. I mean, like when it comes to finances, that's usually a big topic for me. And I mean, if I give the whole history of that, that wouldn't really matter. I think most women are more in the current of what's going on, and I don't think that's going to play into a factor as far as knowing the history of their. I mean, does that even matter when it comes to finances?
Yeah, like it's different if like you're a student and the reason why you don't have money is because you're like in school and you're struggling to like become something, and that's why I don't have it like this, versus like I just don't want to buy something for you just because you like don't want to be like spending money on a girl, for example. Like having the context allows different reactions, I think. So I would like to know why. I don't know about Kiki, like what do you think?
Yeah, do you mean with like the thoughtfulness of the gift or of what they buy you?
Like if you're, or not even, let's say like you're dating a guy and like you want to go on a date with him and he tells you like, oh, I need you to do like 50-50 for us to like do this date thing. Some women would be like, oh, what? Like 50-50, like what kind of dude are you? But if you have like the context of, oh, dude's like in school and he's like struggling to make
a whole autobiography about
like,
everything. It's something you want us to give you a whole biography. I don't. You mean like that's.
Well, maybe just explain why. I mean, just communicate why.
Yeah. Because all women gonna really do is roll their eyes like, okay, I've heard this before. And they're gonna just kind of roll it off like, okay, cool. Like, I mean, not all women are gonna be just as understanding as you are, because they're gonna look at you like, oh, what other problems you got?
That's true.
And they see that as baggage, because now if you got a woman who's successful, got finances really good for her, that can be an issue for her, because she's gonna look at that moving forward. Like, oh, do we gotta worry about finances in the future? Is he gonna have these problems? So they're gonna look at that. If you give them the whole history of you being broke or something like that, or you having situations with finances, that's gonna also turn them off, right? Right? Yeah. See, so I mean, that openness is kind of it's kind of hard for a lot of guys because we think about that. I mean, as far as myself too.
So I guess for me to chime in when it comes to the finance, I guess I'm just starting to really realize I think I have completely different mental scripts on what is vulnerability and what isn't vulnerability, right? Like.
Yeah, you do.
People in my inner circle know I talk about FIRE movement all the time. Like financial independence, retire early. Like I'm always talking about that shit. I'm always talking about, hey, I want to look into this account, this investment account. I want to invest in like. So for me, like, I'm not insecure talking about finances, even though I have a little bit of consumer debt. I have X, Y, Z here, there, and there, because I'm just like, I'm happy with the puzzle pieces that I have. But if you were to ask some of my closest friends, they would not want to open up about that. And I'm not talking about like, oh, I have XYZ in my credit and debit account, but like they wouldn't want to talk about their financial plans. So I guess I'm starting to realize I think there's just not a lot that I'm insecure about. So for me, I feel like there's not much to hide. There's just like 5 or 6 things. I'm just like, I would never touch that. Like, that's like in the crypt to the grave. Right. So I think like the examples brought up earlier about like sexual things, right? For me, I feel like telling my lady what I want sexually isn't actually a vulnerability. I would just say, hey, baby, let's try this. And that would be it. That's all. I would be very cavalier. I'd be like, we're talking, dirty texting, or we're laying in bed and we just finished like round number 2 or something.
Yeah.
And we know it's going down. She's like, oh, babe, you know, we should try doing this. I like it when people do that. I like it when my girl does that. And that would just be it. So I guess for me, it wouldn't, I don't know. I feel like I would always find a, sorry, go ahead.
Not every man is like you. Like, there are men out there who don't feel comfortable telling their wife that I want like my butt licked or something, right?
Oh, okay.
I mean, technically speaking, that's what that vulnerability is being like, hey, this is something that is considered completely taboo in all specs, and I am opening myself up for you to eat my ass. And I can see that as vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I can't.
Let's be honest. This true talk, real talk. This is before even podcast max. Like, I tried it out. Not on me. I tried it out on somebody and I liked it. And even then it was weird to talk about like, yo, like I eat a girl's ass out, blah, 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 because it wasn't something normal. Then one song comes out and everyone's eating booty like groceries and it's like, cool. But at the time I had to like convince like, yo, like blah, blah, blah. And it took a while to get there because it's like, I think it's something hot and sexy and whatever. And I'm fairly certain you're going to like it. They're like, yeah, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Fuck is weird. Like, we're butt ass naked and we swap spit. Like, there's nothing weird. Just do it, kind of a thing. But then again, I think of it on me and I'm like, no, that's fucking weird.
Right.
So, moving on with ass and eating ass. I mean, okay, so let's just say I know that Red Pill mentioned that vulnerability is not as bad. So I guess for us to be vulnerable, we have to be vulnerable and that actually finds out if a girl's really cool and down for you. That's what someone commented. So guys, be vulnerable because then you know if she's cool and really down for you. As domestic violence survivor, vulnerability is, to me, is very important. I need to know that someone has emotion and builds trust. Yeah. So kind of it all links to like building trust. A lot of the comments on my live streams talking about cucumbers and pickles. I don't know where that came from, but I got like
pickles are just Jewish cucumbers, so.
Someone said just put in the butt, Max.
What me in mine? No, this is exit only.
Hey, it's just trying to be vulnerable. That's trying to be vulnerable.
But I got boundaries. You know, I got.
I got like 30 seconds right here, so I'm gonna start on here again. But man, I got time limits off the yin yang, guys. This is some good stuff, man. Someone sounded circumcised. But you know, I guess we can also talk about. I think what I wanted to bring up before we end this. Hold on, I know I have it here. You guys are crazy. You guys are. I can't with the comments on here. I can't. Hold on. Let me reopen this. I can't. All right. So let's. Hold on. I'm gonna reopen this again. All right. So what I wanted to ask before we even end this one is I wanted to, I guess the whole portion of everything combined together, what we're talking about is how do we communicate effectively with a partner when things go wrong? What practice can we increase on vulnerability in relationships? Like I got a couple of questions I want to talk about. So we'll start with you guys, each person. What do you guys think? Because I want to also kind of tie this into relationships. I know we kind of talk about vulnerability with us as far as men, but in a relationship world, communication effectively, how would you guys go about it? What practice would you guys do?
So here's my toxic trait, and I know I need to work on this, but I'm someone who kind of holds things in and then just like throws it all out there when I can no longer take it. And I don't know, like maybe it's the way I was socialized, but I don't want to burden people with my shit. But then like also when I'm in a relationship and someone's doing this thing that's like really bothering me, I realize my toxic trait is just to like suck it up until I can no longer take it. And then I just like emotionally vomit on the person. And they don't like understand the context. They don't understand why. They don't get it. And I realize it's because I'm uncomfortable with being vulnerable. with my own feelings and sharing them with my partner. So yeah, like I I don't know. I'm still working on it. Like I'm 27 and I still don't like I'm still working on how I can not do that. I don't know. I don't know. I just know
No, that makes that's this. I fall in that same boat where like one of my biggest issues is it's not even, and it's not fair to the people I'm with. Like my partners, I have an issue with this, and it's just like I will take small things and keep adding small things on top of each other, and then I just blow up on another small thing, and it's a small thing, and they're like, "Why are you getting so upset over literally nothing?" That's like, it's not just this, it's all of this. And I feel like an asshole when I do it because I'm like bringing in a bunch of shit and just being like, damn, like this is why I'm angry, blah blah blah. I honestly, I mean, because of this whole indoors COVID-19 bullshit, like I've literally, it's been me, my 2 roommates, and my girlfriend in the house nonstop, and like they drive me fucking nuts. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like no one is supposed to spend this much time with somebody. Like period. Like even when you're married, you don't spend this much time with somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so because of that, like I don't have a way to get away from anyone. Don't. Like my door is shut right now, and they're in the living room. I can still hear them. They're still there. Like I can zone myself out, but they're still there. So because of that, small things have been building up, and I literally blew up a couple days ago, and I blew up yesterday. Like I just did because I'm like, yo, I'm fed up and blah blah. Also, I haven't been eating food, so like I was like, blood sugar. So like I did that, and I feel like an asshole for doing it. But like these are issues and they are problems. It's just a bunch of minor ones. My issue and problem is I just bottle up until it's full and empty it out all at once. You know?
Yeah.
So Alpha Muck is on our chat room on this on the live stream. He says,
"Where you at? Why aren't you on here?"
I know, I sent them an email. I don't know why you ain't on here. Anyways, he said vulnerability makes you relatable as another imperfect human, period. Even though it may feel uncomfortable, and vulnerability is a form of confidence and self-acceptance.
Yes, that is true.
And then someone commented and said, so I would say choose to be vulnerable depending on the issue/topic, right? Or is it based on personality?
No, you have to be like able to confidently be vulnerable and then share your shit with people and not like, I don't know, like, and not worry about, I don't know how to explain it. Like you just, I think it's a skill. I think it's something that you have to like practice within yourself. Because emotions are messy and like scary. So I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to that, but
I think also the other person has to be open, you know, and has to make the other person feel comfortable for them to, you know, be vulnerable around them too. Yeah. So I think it's like a two-way street, you know?
Yeah, because no one wants to like be, because I mean, think about it. Imagine if you opened up and you became vulnerable and you let somebody in and then there's still like a brick wall.
Yeah.
Hey, he's back.
Yeah.
It's like my biggest fear.
Like I've opened up to you and this is what you did.
Yeah. And it's like you feel stupid when you do it because you're like, fuck, I just like let my guard down and here they are going, yeah.
So there's like a fine line between vulnerability and sensitivity. I think a certain part of it, if you give out so much at the beginning as being vulnerable, that shows that you're overly sensitive, or is it just showing that you're totally emotional? Like, or should you just kind of pick and choose depending on how the relationship is progressed? Sounds like, right? Because it seems like there's like someone, Kim said, sounds like there's a spectrum of honesty and vulnerability, right? So
yeah,
so that's a good one. But yeah, I mean, it's tough, man, because and all the comments people are saying it's really good. But what else? What was I gonna ask? Oh, lack of socializing. No, it's being real.
That's something else, right?
No, I'm just looking at the comments. Oh yeah. So the question I was gonna ask, another one for you guys here. Hold on, let me look up one before we. I do want to get across these two. Why do we accept black and white? Okay. This stuff you made, Aunt Shirley. I'm asking your questions on here. All right. So Why do we accept vulnerability in culture? Why is it accepted?
Ooh. I don't know.
Why
Wait,
is it
what?
accepted for someone? Why is it acceptable? So it's acceptable because you're trying to get to know someone, right? But why is it acceptable as far as culture wise? Like, is it, why are, you know what I mean? Because, you know, us men, we're supposed to be tough, right? And we're supposed to not show that kind of emotion.
Oh, for some reason I thought you were talking about like ethnicity wise, like what's that got to do with vulnerability?
You could throw ethnicity. It's all culture, right? So,
I mean,
because it's the USA.
fucking, that's actually really hard to jump on without trying to like sound mean, like an asshole.
Go for it.
Being like,
Go for it.
fucking white people are way too sensitive, blah blah blah. You know, like
Fucking white people.
hey, it could be fuck white people.
Hey,
I mean,
Max, do you, boo boo? All right, hon, do you? All right.
Oh my god.
My
social cues.
Well, I mean, you're not doing it about like specifically like well, I guess the whole culture thing is like how you're raised into something, and I guess some of that can be how your family raised you, which could be a racial thing, or it could just be just how society itself puts it. Because I can tell you for firsthand, Canadians and Mexicans don't act the same, period, because of how the differences are in just climate, how that is. Things do change. I see a lot more family when it comes to people, you know, south of the border versus north of the border. I see less family interaction. It's more like the stereotypical picket fence, hey, we'll have dinner with each other, and then after that, go to your room and go play on your phone, versus like the we need to get together and spend time. I'm not saying that's exactly how it is for everybody, but like I do believe that cultures do add a little bit into stuff like that with just how things are. Do I think it's a bad thing or a good thing? No. I mean, I'm me. I'm who I am, and I'm how I was raised. I don't consider it bad. I do know that I don't like the way my family is. Because like my mom's a person, I don't know, she's fucking nuts. My mom is overly sensitive and not vulnerable.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Her sensitivity, so I 100% believe my mom is bipolar, and her sensitivities are mainly a way to be like, draw attention to me. So she's the kind of person who cries, literally, I fuck you not. If you show her a picture of the Twin Towers, she's never been to New York once in her fucking life. But if you show her a picture of the Twin Towers, she cries and then starts singing the national anthem every fucking time. And it's like, cool, do you. But like, when it comes to vulnerability, my mom, it took 25, 26 years before she finally said like, oh, I love you. You know, like it's shit like that where it's like, wow, how can you be one and not the other? But that wasn't how she was raised. That's just what goes on in her head. But I had to like counteract with around that to be like, okay, I am not a sensitive person, but I do have vulnerabilities. Like I will accept people in easier. I do trust people easier, but like no sensitivity at all. So like there is like cultural things, but culture, how you're raised can change. Like how you're raised, you don't have to, you can, like me, I'm a rebel by nature. So I always do the opposite of what my parents did. And that's how I believe like I'm doing a good job, is because I'm like, they weren't in the nicest way. I love my parents, but like they're interesting. And like, even when I was a kid, I'm like, I do not want to be like this. And because of that, I built how I want to be as a person on how toxic that relationship was, if that makes sense, you know?
Word.
Yeah. I'm getting some deep shit.
So
thanks for sharing that, man.
I'm starting to tee up a little bit, you know?
Yeah. So Alpha Monk said something. He said people are terrified of being hurt, so they play the game. Let's see who cares the least. It's a power thing. People believe it's a power thing, and if you care the least, then you have the upper hand.
100% true. But there is a point where that not caring and that high wall, that whole like step behind and I'm not going to let anything affect me, distance you away from other people.
For sure.
Like there are people that will be with you and say, I don't want to be with somebody who will not like show their true selves. Because what that is, that whole like, I got to be the tough guy and I got to be the one on top and I got to do this. And if you're constantly always and like, I can never show anything, you're going to end up alone. straight up. Okay, that's I mean.
Let's
when you
define
think of,
showing
like-
that thing. Let's real quick. Let's just
Mm.
define showing that thing, right? So,
What thing?
is,
What thing is he talking about?
We're talking about penises.
Oh, okay. How big?
Long.
Stubby? No?
Stubby. I'm all
No?
about it.
I like that stubby life.
What
Them
are we
thicky thickies.
talking about?
Back to the
I'm just sitting there like,
Where
Okay.
is this going?
so I think I'm a little confused too, because I think vulnerability is also showing emotion too, because emotions, fear, sadness, piss, anger, you know what I mean? Like, are those a sign of weakness too as well? Like, as far as in culture wise, is that a sign of like oversensitivity, or is it a sign of vulnerability? Having like hell emotions, like just bawling and crying, and then like I said, bipolar in a way. Is that
Well, I mean,
is that a sign of
when I-
weakness too? If you're like sitting here sobbing and crying off like a chick flick for guys.
I don't think so.
I mean, when it comes down to it, another way to show it or show emotion is to be angry. So if you're somebody who gets angry at fucking everything, and
Well,
that
me.
is that overly sensitive. You're like, "Arr, arr," like always like being pissed off whenever someone says something that you like slightly don't agree with. Like even if it's like, yo, my favorite color is blue. Yeah, but I like light blue, so fuck you. Like, yeah, I can that is oversensitivity. It's not crying, but that's how because I know people who are like that always have to be like, nah, man, fuck you. And I'm like, chill, dog. It's not that big of a deal, you know?
All right. So I got 10 minutes.
So I just wanted to say, like, sometimes I feel like some cultures are allowed to be more vulnerable than others. And then in those cultures, like, some genders are allowed to be more vulnerable than others. And I feel like Latino men, for an example, there's this like strong emphasis on being like machismo and being like really strong and being a man, and vulnerability and having like really high emotions are like the woman's realm. But then kind of
I'm
like,
Latino, and I'm the biggest bitch ever.
well, a lot of Latino men that I've dated, like that's been kind of like our like that's where we like kind of butt heads. They can be really passionate, but like when it turns to like expressing what's bothering them, like no access whatsoever.
No ass?
But then at the same time, I think that Black women aren't allowed to be like super vulnerable versus like my white woman counterparts. Like I think that's a thing, and that's something that like can be, I don't know. It's challenging. I think it's challenging. So, like I think you add culture, you add like cultural expectations, you add gender, and then you just want to be like who you are as a person in relationships. And it would take hours for us to kind of like unravel why I can't really communicate effectively when it comes to my emotions, but I can be like super expressive in like other ways.
So let's real quick. This is actually for my own personal gain here, right? So I'm asking a legitimate question here. So I've always found like I can connect and emote very, very well without ever feeling vulnerable. So now I'm really starting to, I'm so quiet right now, so I'm starting to really wonder, like, can you be vulnerable without feeling like you're being vulnerable?
Yeah, I think that's
I
really
think for me, like, I'm very, I try to make sense of a lot of things, right? Or like I'm talking or I'm emoting.
Red
very
pill,
cavalier.
do you classify vulnerability as a bad thing?
I'm starting to think I do, apparently. I'm starting to think like, okay, maybe there's something that I don't think about. Because like I think for me, I just don't see vulnerability and openness as the same thing. Right. I think openness and true communication and being proactive and talking about what bothers you, something that I feel like I'm actually very good at, is if something is bothering me, I can talk about it before it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Before it becomes this whole bottled up thing. Like I don't do that. Either it doesn't bother me to begin with, or I handle it right away. And that's it. There's no in between. Yeah. Very rarely does something actually, and that's usually the accumulation of like 1,000 different things from like different areas of my life, right?
Be a man.
When that happens, though, and I feel that build up, I just say, hey, you know what? Going through a lot right now. I'm gonna hang out with my boys. We're going out tomorrow. We'll get brunch, and I just leave it at that, and that's good enough for me, right?
That's still vulnerable.
I guess I just wouldn't classify it that. So I'm trying to realize you're talking about things, and I'm like, well, I do that, but I wouldn't call it.
Yeah.
So
well, that's the thing is that those. So vulnerability isn't a bad thing, and it's not a good thing. If anything, it's like I see it as a scale. Everybody has a level of vulnerability. You have either a low level or a high level of vulnerability. And like for you, you've got more of a, I don't know, you could either have one or the other depending on it. Because for you, you're like, it's second nature to be like, I'm okay with this. I'm cool. That is a sign of vulnerability in my eyes, of being like, it's openness is one way of saying it, but vulnerability is accepting to be like, I can do this, like this. This is how I want to take this information. This is how I'm going to give this information. That can go into that. It doesn't mean that you're a vulnerable person, super vulnerable. Again, I think it's a scale. I think it's how much you have. Do you have a lot or do you have a little?
Yeah.
Same thing with sensitivity. Are you overly sensitive or are you mildly sensitive? You know, people want to find that good balance in between. Like that, I think is the easiest way that everyone can like get together on is we all want to find that balance of like, what's the perfect amount of vulnerability? What's the perfect amount of sensitivity? For me, it's like, if it was a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, fucking, I do like 5 or 6 vulnerability with like 2 sensitivity, you know? Like I can see myself as that kind of person where it's like, that's my level of how it is. And it's like a high 6.
But is that also the level of how vulnerable and how sensitive you can kind of allow yourself to be? Does that also coincide in what roles do you play in your life? Right? Because, and the way you're like Dante and Shirley would know,
Got 5
I'm an
minutes.
African-American male, right? I grew up in a very like African-American men, you don't cry, you're not scared, you're not allowed to be sad. If someone gets in your face, you gotta be aggressive. Like that very stereotypical, that's what I grew up with, right? Also a single father. You look at all my relationships with all of my guy friends, barring maybe like 2 or 3 guy friends, the rest of them are always blowing up my phone when they're calling me for advice, asking me what to do, right?
Yeah.
My family, you know, they're coming to me, they're asking for certain help with certain things, whether I'm writing everyone's resumes or somebody needs to borrow XYZ amount of money or somebody, like I'm just that go-to guy. And so for me, it's like the amount of sensitivity, the amount of reactivity I'm allowed to have in my life is so minimal. I have to find ways to operate around that without distancing people because I'm extroverted and I'm social. So I need to maintain social relationships. If I was an introvert, it'd be really easy to just turn it all on, but I'm not. So I have to find other ways to be open, personable, but not be reactive, sensitive, or overly vulnerable.
So not to interrupt you and stop you guys, we got like 4 minutes left. So if you guys want to take some takeaways, I know 4 minutes, 4 minutes.
Fuck.
Okay.
Amongst
If you guys say anything lastly for 4 minutes in like 20 seconds. If you guys want anything, add anything to this, I think we should. If you guys want to stay tuned for the next series I'm going to do, I'm going to have a love coach on here possibly tomorrow. So I'm going to have another interview with a love coach on here. So I just want to let you guys know that I'm going to have another episode for tomorrow with the love coach. You guys are feel free to go into this, moving forward with that. But I don't know if we have time for any last minute things because we got 3 minutes. I don't know how quick you guys are going to say something. If you guys want to, do it. And the whole summary of everything.
I think it's open debate right now. It's free for all.
Kim says,
Start stabbing each other.
Kim said, don't be Dante, be vulnerable and upgrade your Zoom account.
Damn.
I'm taking this in a learning process, all right?
If they donate,
Sigh.
Yo, bro, get one of those GoFundMe pages. Fuck it.
I did, man. I got a Patreon and no one's ever put in nothing in there. I'm checking every day. No, daily.
Hey,
daily.
Did you tell anybody about this Patreon? I didn't know about it.
It makes me vulnerable. And I'm weak every time. Every time I wake up in the morning, I wake up. Let me see who donated something to Why Date. And I look. I'm like,
Nobody.
No, that's just being sensitive. Dante just being a little bitch.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
All
But
right.
if you guys
All right,
want to say as far as the live stream too, if you guys are on here, say something. But you guys got like 2 minutes. But yeah, I'm gonna do another episode with a dating coach from Australia.
What I want to say is like radical vulnerability with the people, like with your chosen people, is necessary for men and women in order for you to just feel whole. Like, and it's important to practice that actively in your relationships. Making vulnerability this like negative thing makes you not. I think it closes you up. And if we're in this game to win it, like you want to have like an intimate partner, you got to be vulnerable. You have to allow people to have access to you.
All right, it's less than a minute. Sorry, guys.
Oh, someone forgot to email.
Yo, I'll catch you on later.
Bye.
All right, guys.
Take
All
care,
right, thanks for tuning
everybody.
in,
Stay
guys.
safe. Wash your hands.
I'll upgrade it next time. Next time around. I didn't think it's gonna be.
Damn better. Okay. Bye.
All right, guys.
Later.